Hello lovely people, I'm Catherine and welcome to this week's slow stitch video. As promised, I'm going to start stitching on my Oaken Scroll. Now I haven't done anything at all since I basted it all with you last time. So a few of you have asked how I start, so I thought I would share the absolute start with you. I did think in the week of starting doing some stitching and then talking you through it. But I thought, no, let's start with a blank canvas, so to speak. So in here I've got some threads dyed with the oak as well. And that was actually dyed with nettles when I did my nettle pouch project. This was dyed with walnut leaves, and it's too thick to stitch, but I thought I'd use this because it might be nice to couch some of that on. I'm just putting them up there out of shot. Now you've seen them. This is dyed with oak galls. That's all silk, those, and that's dyed with oak galls as well, and that's come out more variegated because I wrapped it crissy-crossy around a stick and just dipped it in the oak galls and took it out again, so it kind of acted as a resist on itself. I've also got these bits of lace that I might include. This was also dyed with oak galls and then dipped in iron, and that's slightly thicker. I think that's cotton. Yeah, that's cotton. So I would have mordanted that with alum lactate. And that's also oak galls and iron. That is a bit of silk. So I've got those threads. That's all the leftover. Oh, hello. Hello. That's some gold dyed with walnut leaves. We'll have that as well. So I've got all the leftover cloths here. I'm going to keep those together because I've got an idea for that for an exhibition I'm involved in next year, hopefully. And this is some nettle wool, so that might be for couching. So that's quite a lot already. I've also got the nettle pouch here. And in here are some other threads, because it's a big scroll, as you will have seen if you saw me assemble it. So in here I've got some other threads. That's gold. I can't remember what that was dyed with. It was written on there, but it's come off. But you know, and I've also got some contrasty sort of pinky colours. I don't know whether I'll be using those or not, but we'll see. So I'll kind of keep in here the threads for this project, and that's just some Valdani and some variegated neutrals. That is some commercial DMC, but I tea dyed it, so it's kind of knocked it back, so it kind of tones better with the natural dyes. That's a good idea if you natural dye threads and you want to mix commercial threads with them. If you tea dye them, it just makes them play better together. It's just a little tip. So yeah, so I think I'll keep this as my sort of project pouch for the spool, the nettle pouch, because there's a quite big, you know, and because it's big, they'll all fit in there. So right, let's have a look then. I'll just put it to one side for now because its bead keeps clonking on the desk. So I'm going to get the whole thing off and talk about how I decide where to start while the clock chimes 10. I have slightly bent the bongy arm thing, adjusted. You're allowed to, I haven't broken it, so that it hits it slightly at an oblique angle, because I did think it was quite loud before, and if some of you have gone all into a drowsy state, or even dare I say nodded off, it would have woken you up, and I don't want to give anybody a rude awakening. Okay, so I've got the whole thing off. So a few people said, do I just start at one end and work my way along? No, not with this kind of scroll. I don't. I do that when I'm just going to do lines of running stitch. And I talked about that in my meditation scroll video I made recently about the meditative nature of stitching straight lines like that. But this is much more a kind of an art piece. Well, so are stitch meditation scrolls. I don't really know how to describe the difference. I'm going to do a lot more different fancy stitching on this. So if your way of working, if what suits you is to start at one end and then decide, oh, what stitching do I want to do on here, and work your way along, you do that. But I jump all over the place. So I will just start by looking. So the first stitch is always the hardest, you know, the first fancy stitch. So I'm going to start by looking and seeing what speaks to me, and just letting my eyes run over the cloth. And at one point something usually says to me, stitch this here. So that's, you know, that's what I do. I'm quite drawn to this oak leaf actually. I'll keep my thumb on it. Yeah, I think I'm going to start with that oak leaf. So, and I think what I like to do, I don't know if I can show you because it's hanging from the window, my eco print palmet on this curtain here. What I like to do with cleanish leaf prints is leave them and then stitch something around them to emphasize them. And you could just outline with running stitch if you like. Sometimes I outline with a back stitch, or a stem stitch, or any kind of stitch you want, chain stitch even. But I think I might outline this with, I might use the grey. That's a bit thin. I might use that thicker grey. And I think I'm going to outline it with kind of random sticky stitches. So almost satin stitch, but jiggedy jaggedy, you'll see. Because I've done that on one of the leaves on my curtain here, and I can see that, and that's inspired me to do it here, if I'm completely honest. So this is slightly thicker thread. So I don't know if it's going to work in a number 9. We'll see if it threads easily. If it doesn't thread easily, I'm going to go up to a number 8. I talked about a needle threader, and a couple of you asked about seeing a picture of it. I will try and find a picture and show you, because I know a few of you are interested. Because like I said, the classic manual needle threaders don't work in fine needles. They only work in big-eyed needles, which I find easy to thread anyway. So maybe next time I go to Midsummer Quilting I'll have a look and see if they've got them. I'm not sure where Birgitta got it from. Oh, while I mentioned Midsummer Quilting, I forgot on Wednesday to mention the exhibition, and I know some of you don't watch the Monday video, so I'll just mention that quickly. Brief advert, please don't go anywhere, it's an interesting advert, I hope. Midsummer Quilting is a quilting shop and workshops in Somerset, near, I think it's Somerset, it's near Radstock anyway, near Chilcompton in the west of England, and it's their 21st anniversary this year, and so to honour and celebrate that they're having an exhibition showing the work of 21 former tutors, of which yours truly is one of those. And they're lovely people. They supported me way back when I first started teaching years ago and had me there doing workshops fairly early on in my teaching career, so I was delighted to be asked to join. And so each person is given 4 pieces, I believe, so there'll be 80 odd pieces of art on display in the shop and in the studio there. I'll put a link to their website in the description, but it's midsummerq.com, and midsummer is spelt like Midsummer Murders, M-I-D-S-O-M-E-R. I'll put it on the screen, because I know some of you struggle with finding the description box. The exhibition will be open on November the 14th and up until the 22nd of December, so it's on for a good long time, and I believe it's open daily until December the 1st from 10 till 4, and then after that it's open from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday only, which are their standard opening days. But if you're going to travel, please check first, either check the website or give them a call just to be sure, because I've seen different dates in a couple of different places. Now I'm going to go there on next Wednesday, Wednesday the 19th of November with Maz, who's over from Australia visiting her daughter, and she's going to pop over this way and visit me for a couple of days. So Maz and I will be there on Wednesday the 19th of November, I would imagine sort of late morning, and then I'm going to go and sit there for the entire morning on Saturday the 6th and Saturday the 15th of December. I'm going to go and sit there and do some stitching, just because I just love meeting people and chatting to people. So if you would like to meet me in particular or see me, then those are the days I'll be there. But otherwise, yeah, do go along and support them if you can. I will, of course, do a video. I haven't asked, but I'm sure they'll be delighted for me to. I will do a video and share it with you here on my channel for those of you who can't get there. Okay, here endeth the advert. Back to this, yes, so what was I saying? So that's where I saw this fancy needle threader. So a couple of you have inquired about it, so I'll try and get more information. So I'm starting with a knot. I'm actually going to get my jumper off. I've just been out for a walk and I'm warm. I got this jumper, look at this. Look up if you've if you've gone to sleep, wake up, I'm showing you my jumper. Sorry. A friend of mine, it's the same friend, I've mentioned her before, I've mentioned things that I was wearing. She gets things from charity shops because she likes them, but I think she can't be bothered to try them on. And then sometimes she gets home, she's quite petite, and tries them on and she doesn't think they suit her, so she gives them to me because I'm a bit taller. So anyway, the other day I went round and she gave me this. Isn't it fabulous? It reminds me of Licorice All Sorts. I mean, it's, you know, it's just acrylic or whatever, but it's black stripes and multicoloured stripes, and then it's got these mohairy hairs type in it. But anyway, I've worn it to walk Stella, and now I'm a bit warm, so I'm taking it off. But I wanted to show it to you first. My Licorice All Sort jumper. Do you have Licorice All Sorts in other countries? Oops, that was my treads clanging against the desk. Apologies for all the noise, that would have woken you up. I do know that in Holland, in the Netherlands, sorry, I mustn't say Holland because that's only part of the Netherlands. The Netherlands is the entire country. In the Netherlands, they have what we in England call Licorice All Sorts, and they call them Engelse dropjes, which means English sweeties. It's a fun fact. And I am English and I do like them, so there we go. Anyway, let's finally get on with some stitching. So I've got my leaf, so I'm just going to come up, I'm going to start anywhere. And all I'm going to do is just do little straightish stitches. And I am going to do them satin stitch style, so not working sideways. So I'm going to go in somewhere. I'll zoom you in so you can see. So I'm going to go in somewhere roughly perpendicular to the leaf, and then come up on the edge of the leaf. And you probably can't see because it's tone on tone. I hope you can see well enough. And then I'm just going to do lots of stitches, and I don't want them to be exactly perpendicular. They can go at funny angles, but I'm not having them sort of straight is the principle, and all different lengths. I hope that's all making sense. So this is my first pass. I'm just going to go around. Don't pull too tightly either. There's a temptation. I mean, I've always got more tension in my stitching than, well, not than I should. I just stitch with quite a lot of tension. In general, I like the way it ripples the cloth. But there's a big temptation when you're satin stitching, which is in principle what I'm doing with big gaps between, or overcast stitching, to pull it tighter because you're wrapping a section of the cloth. So I'm just being a little bit aware of that. So I'm basically doing an overcast stitch or a satin stitch, but really wonky. And this leaf is going to take, this stitch is going to take quite a lot of time. Now here the print is a bit indistinct, but I'm just going to choose a line and follow it. If you don't have eco prints, you can absolutely do a variation of this scroll, just using plain cloth, you know, plain for the plains, and some print, you know, just commercial print with motifs on of whatever kind, whether it's flowers or leaves or whatever, if you fancy doing this kind of stitching. Or you could just draw a leaf shape. You could make a template like I do with my circles. I will be showing you how I do my circles at one point if you haven't seen it. You could draw a leaf shape, and if you've got ink tents or some kind of fabric crayon, you could colour it. Otherwise you could just leave it, the back, you know, choose a leaf coloured cloth, whatever colour you decided to go with, draw a leaf shape on the cloth, and then do the stitching around it. You don't have to have eco prints to play along if you want to. So I'm just going to carry on doing this all the way around, and that, like I said, is going to take me quite a lot of time. So I'm going to go away and do that, and then I'll be back once I've made my first pass. Okay, I went away to do that, and I thought I'd have a little look at what I've filmed so far, and you really couldn't see the grey, so I pulled it all out and I changed to this. This is one of the Valdani pearl cottons. So anyway, so I've been all the way around doing the little stick stitches. I didn't film that again with this thread, but hopefully by looking at that you can get the idea of what I've done, along with the explanation that I gave earlier. So now I've got another bit of the same thread in my needle, and I'm just going to go around again. Basically I already started in there with a little bit that was left, so I'm just filling in the gaps, but I'm keeping all the stitches different lengths and different angles. And the other thing I'm going to do is, all of these stitches are coming from the edge of the leaf, but on my next pass I'm going to go round and radiate them further out. So at the moment I'm just basically filling in the gaps, so I hope that's clear, but keeping all the stitches different lengths, so you get this lovely jaggedy edge, which then I can work into with the next pass. And I'm really doing my best to keep my tension not too tight. So some of the stitches I'm going quite long. You see there, I went a good 1/4 inch long with that one. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about choosing what to stitch where, really, I guess. So this is quite obvious, I suppose, because just going back to filling that gap, because I'm outlining a motif. But when you've got those sort of wide open areas, you know, the plain areas there, that becomes more challenging in a way, because you've got nothing to respond to. So I mean, I find that I have my go-to stitches that I like to do, which are running stitch in different directions, seed stitch, and the wonky blanket stitch. So I'll definitely be including some of that. But also a good way to deal with that is to do first all the places that inspire you, you know, because there's something there to respond to. So once you, and that's why I dot about and don't start at one end, and you know, I jump about, I don't start at one end and work my way up. Because then I can go through and do stitch all the areas that speak to me first, and then from those areas I can come up with stitches to do in the plain areas. I hope I'm making sense. Sometimes I don't sound like I am when I'm speaking, but hopefully I am. So for example, with this motif here that I'm stitching now, and it is getting quite thick, it does get quite thick with this way of stitching, because obviously I've got the stitch on the front, but there's also the stitch on the back. So each place where there's a stitch is a double layer of thread, and I'm using quite a thick thread. But I like that because I like to have the differences in textures as well as the differences in the look of the stitches. The texture is equally important, really. So yeah, so for example, when I've stitched all around this leaf and radiated out as far as I want to, I can then echo that shape with more stitching and radiate that out even further, so I can make this motif fill. I could, like, for example, radiate out into this area with it. Do you see what I mean? So that's how I work. And I will share, and I'm going to share, this is going to be months and months of stitching on this. This is only the beginning. I'm not going to do it every week, this, because I think you'll get bored. But I will show you as I stitch on it. I'll share my process with you, and every now and then I'll do a video if I feel like I'm doing a stitch that maybe I haven't shown you before, or you know, if I've got something that I think is worth showing you, showing you the process rather than just showing you the end result. So yeah, so like I said, I do hope that some of you, even if you don't have eco print and you have no desire to eco print, take this process and recreate and create a scroll using cloths that you do have available to you, and just being a little bit inventive with you know, the cloths that you've got. Like I said, if you've got cloths with a large print on, you can do that. You could cut out shapes out. If you've got a cloth with a large print of flowers or leaves or whatever, you could cut those shapes out and baste them on, and then applique them and then stitch around them like that. So you could absolutely do everything I'm going to do on this scroll on a scroll made with non-eco prints. So yeah, so I'm filming this on Wednesday. where are we? Yeah, Wednesday morning, which is, and you'll get it on Friday, because I wanted, well, there's two reasons. One, I wanted to have a couple of evenings of stitching in between to be able to show you some, you know, some progress. And the other thing is I'm going out this afternoon. See, here there are gaps, but I don't mind. I'm going to come round again, so I'm just going to stitch as I stitch, filling the gaps in, but I'm not worrying if I leave some gaps because I can fill those in on another pass on the next round. Yeah, so this afternoon I'm going to Simmonsbury, where I exhibited previously with my group, which is down near Bridport, and it's still in Dorset, but it's right down near the coast, to have a meeting about a possible exhibition there next October. So October 2026 with a group of people. So I'll keep posted about that. So so I'm going there this afternoon to meet a couple of my friends and textile colleagues to discuss that and see how and what. And then tomorrow I'm going to a friend's for the day. So I didn't want to leave this until Friday morning, you know, the whole video, because I knew there was going to be, I'd need to go and do some stitching in between. So that's why I'm doing it on Wednesday. So yeah, exciting stuff going on. I've got my second monthly slow stitch session next week in South Petherton in the David Hall. And I know some of you that are coming to that watch me here. And then there'll be a third session in December, and then next year we're going to do monthly slow stitch sessions in the David Hall. And I'm not going to really give details about those yet, because I want to give first refusal to the people that have done this mini course. I thought that was only fair. And some of those will want to carry on coming every month, so I want to give them, you know, first shot at the places. But it is, we are going probably, or almost certainly going to do 2 sessions per month. So, and you know, just keep the group a bit smaller. I thought I'd rather do that than try and pack a load of people into one session. I think it's nicer for the participants and nicer for me as well. And yeah, so that's coming up. So if you're in this area and you're interested in that, and then of course, like I said last time when I'd done the slow stitch session, I will then make a video of some kind reflecting the content of that in person. Some people asked about doing online courses. You know, why didn't I do paid online courses? I'm happier doing this, to be honest, because you know, doing this on YouTube, because I get a little bit of revenue from the YouTube adverts, which are at the beginning and ends of my videos. But also I'm so lucky that I've got so many lovely people supporting me on Kofi, those of you who can. Thank you so much. And I think if I make online courses that people have to pay for, I'm just happier doing it here. That's just me. I'm not saying, you know, that might not change in the future, but I'm just happier doing it here, and you know, I'm fine. I'm doing, you know, I'm doing well enough financially, and I don't want to get, you know, I mean, no judgment against people that do online courses that choose to go that way. It's just that I've been doing it this way for, you know, 2 years now, coming up 2 years, I think, and I don't see any reason to change it. So, to be honest, I think I have the feeling that some of the people that asked about online courses, I wouldn't do a live, I wouldn't do a sort of a Zoom session or anything. I just find that the idea of that makes me a bit anxious, you know, through the medium of technology, doing an online session. That's just me. But I would say to people that have asked me about online courses, this is the online course. This is, I mean, I wouldn't do anything different in a paid online course to what I do here. it would be, for example, I mean, if we go back to last year with the slow stitch project, the slow stitch journal project, that weekly project, if I was doing a weekly online slow stitch class, that would be, you know, it would be something like that. If the one that I'm going to do in person next year will be each month I will come up with some kind of theme or activity or something to talk about while we stitch, some aspect of slow stitch, and that will be what I'll share, and then I'll share that here with you on the channel as well. So an online course in slow stitch or anything else, I'm not keeping anything back, you know. It's not that I'm doing this. I'm going to just have a sip of tea, excuse me. I'm not doing this as you know, this is all there is, basically. That sounds bad now. That sounds like I'm running myself down, but I'm not. I mean, it's not like I'm giving you a little, what do they call it, like a teaser here, and then there's going to be something paid online. No, everything I do here, everything I say, everything I show you is me. It's, I don't know how to put it any differently. An online course wouldn't be any different to what you're getting here on YouTube, so there we go. That's it. I do find as well that my thread twists quite, so you have to just be aware and just untwist it, because if it really starts to, well, if it twists one way, it can, you know, the plies can separate, but if it starts twisting tighter, it's not as fluffy, it doesn't fill the spaces nicely. So that's just one of those little things where you have to pay attention. Just be mindful of how the materials are responding to what you're doing. But I just think, did you see how beautiful that is? So I'm just going to keep working my way around, and then when I've been all the way around and I'm back to the beginning, I'm going to go around again and fill in gaps that I've left, but at the same time let me just finish off this bit of thread, and then I'll go back to the beginning and show you. I think that's the best thing to do. Do you see here I've got the end of this bit of cloth weaving here coming in, so I'm stitching into that. I don't see it as an area that I have to stay within this area. I'm quite happy and more than happy to blur the lines between the different sections, and the same here, I went over the edge here a little bit. So that's another thing to think about, you know, you want it to be in the end, or I want it to be a cohesive whole. I want there to be connections. So even these motifs, which are kind of by definition a standalone thing, I like to blur the area they're in into the adjacent area. Okay, so my bit of thread ran out somewhere here, so I'm going to go back to here now with my new bit of thread, and just show you what I mean by the next pass. I mean, you can go around as many times as you like. I would say don't, what I was doing here, filling in, it started to feel a bit, I don't know, it just started to feel uncomfortable, so I went back to just filling the gaps but not completely filling them, if it makes sense. And I think I'd rather go around 2, 3, 4 or more times and enjoy the process than be here. I just found myself getting a bit, I can't really put it into words, I was just paying attention to how I felt about the process, and I just found it a bit like it was kind of limiting me in some way, squeezing me, I don't know. Right, so anyway, I'm going to go back here and start somewhere in here. That's just filling in that gap, and then I'm going to come up sort of part way between these stitches. Basically what I'm doing is long and short stitch, which is an embroidery filler stitch, which is a variation on satin stitch, but I'm doing it as an outline rather than filling an area. So then I'm just coming in anyway. You can come in at the end of a stitch or down between them or whatever, but basically I'm not going right back to the edge of the leaf again, I'm just building up. And like this little closed in area here, I could decide to just fill it in completely with thread, but then I will bring some of the stitches further out. so it's not, you just have to look and see what you think will look nice. There I'm going to stab stitch through there, because I don't want it to look blocky. I want it to look, you know, I want the edges to look sort of tapered. I'm going to come up in there somewhere. And you might have to lay your thread on so that it falls where you want it to. As you pull the stitch through, you might just I just put my thumbnail where it, so that the thread kind of slides down my thumbnail and lays where I want. I'm going to jump right over there because that area is a bit congested already. And you can come out as far as you like doing this. You could just keep going round and round. You could, you know, I mean, it's quite dense. I don't think I'd fill a huge area with it. But there's no reason why you couldn't. So some of these gaps here I am going back down to the leaf because I don't want to leave any gaps on the edge of the actual leaf. It's going to chime 11, I think. So yeah, so especially since I'm using this pearl cotton, which is quite thick, it's making a really dense line. If you used, you could of course use a thinner thread, but obviously it would take more stitches to fill in the area because it's a thinner thread. And what I like about using this variegated thread as well is the variations in colour that I'm getting, and I'm getting kind of blocks of colour as well because of the way you're stitching. So like there where I stitched all that bit in one go, it's made a cream block because that stretch of thread was cream, rather than moving the variegations around. So yeah, so it's just it's a kind of organic long and short stitch. And then I very much want the edge to have this open kind of radiating effect, but in an uneven way. So there we go. So then I might just, I'm going to go all round making it all like this. That's probably going to take me a good couple of hours, so that's maybe this evening's work. And then once I've done that, I might then decide to come even further out, or I might decide to leave it at that. But whatever I decide, I will show you before the end of this video, which for me will probably be Friday morning. Okay, so I hope that's good so far, and I'll see you in no time at all by the magic of video. Okay, so I did another couple of rounds with the Valdani that I was using, the pearl cotton, and then I've gone round again once or twice, just putting in the odd little stitch here and there with my oak gall dyed silk, and that's very fine. So I was using 2 strands. I kind of held the 2 strands up next to the Valdani, and I wanted it a bit thinner but not a huge jump, you know, in thickness, so that's why I decided to double it up. What I could do now, of course, I'm just thinking on the hoof here, is go down to 1 strand and wisp it out even more. In fact, maybe that's what I'll do. That isn't what I was going to do. I was going to now just start doing some little running stitches outlining it, but no, I think I'll do that. So I've got 2 strands in here. I'm just going to use up this little bit of 2 strands. So I'll just zoom you in and just show you what I'm doing, just to use up this little bit. Stills! Just having a little scratch. So I was just sort of laying it in, just where I thought. And sometimes I was going right down into the thickness of the pearl cotton, you know, so that the strand lay down in there, because the pearl cotton is cotton, obviously, clues in the name. Sorry, and this is silk. You can see the difference as well in the sheen. You know, the silk has got more of a shine to it. So I'm just looking for those tiny gaps, and sometimes I'm just filling them in with the silk, and then other times I'm going into a gap that is kind of open. and going right up. I wouldn't go longer than maybe 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch with my stitching. You can do great long lengths if you want, but it's just I wouldn't, they might stand out because my stitches are kind of within a length gauge range, if that makes any sense at all. So here there's quite a big gap, so I'm going to do quite a long stitch radiating out like that. So I hope you can see how mindful it is as you just look where you might fit in a stitch. And I don't want to cover all that dark tannin iron mark there because I think it's nice if it's just peeping through. And then like here you see all these stitches are kind of ending in a line. So I'm going to break that up by coming a bit further out. And just go into that little gap there. But you can see what I'm doing. A bit further out again, and there's quite a big gap there. And further out again. And I do try and get in the gap and not split the thread, but honestly if you do split the thread here and there's so much going on, it won't notice. And you could keep doing this as far out as you wanted to. Just keep, when you've done a round, just take a step back and have a look at it and just see how you think it's looking, and then just decide how much more you want to do. I'm always inclined, if I've got a bit of thread in my needle, to use it up rather than waste it, you know, if it's a shortish bit. I might just squeeze one more stitch in there. Finish that off, and then now let's go down to a single strand and see how that looks. And this is toning beautifully with that Valdani because it was the one that I dyed in the oak galls, and I crisscrossed it. You know, I wrapped it around a stick, but I deliberately crossed it on itself so that it kind of acted as a resist on itself. And I just did a bit of a dip for maybe 10 minutes or so, and then let it sit for a little while out of the oak galls, and then I wound it off, round it around a bigger stick, so more of it was exposed to, you know, the outside, and then I just gave it a good rinse. That's how I got that effect. So now I'm just going to go down to one strand. I'm just going to take a little bit, and I'm just going to start off with you, and then I'm going to go away and finish going around again with just one strand on my own. So I'll start somewhere, doesn't really matter where. Let's start down in here. So it's kind of feathering it out really. It's a bit congested in there, but that's okay. I'm just working my way into those gaps. And also I hope you can see that I'm changing the direction of the stitches. They're not all coming straight out in line with the edge of the leaf. So if I've got room to put them on the wonk, I do put them on the wonk. I just like the look. It's not that that's the right way, it's just that I like that look of them all going in different directions. Yeah, and I'm really liking how that's really feathering that out now. And if you were using embroidery floss, the obvious thing to do would be to start with maybe 3 strands of floss and then go down to 2 and then go down to 1. You know, if you don't have all these different kinds of threads, that will give you the same kind of effect. "5 o'clock and all is well." That's why Stella's circling, because she wants her tea. So I'm just going to carry on working around like this until I've got back round to the beginning, just putting in a single strand here and there, sometimes going back right down into the work, and other times putting it, you know, I wouldn't stitch from the edge of an edge stitcher now. I think that would be really obvious. I'm always going in a little bit into the body of the stitching. But sometimes I go in further than others, because that blurs that edge as well. If you did all of these stitches from the same point, you would kind of see it, I think. So I am going into the body of the stitch to a different degree each time. So I'll go ahead and work my way around this leaf, and then I'll be back. Okay, so there we go, that's it for this motif. I have, like I said, gone around with one strand of this silk. So I've got the 3 different thicknesses. So I had the 8-weight cotton pearl, and then 2 strands of the silk, and then going down to 1 strand of the silk. And I hope you can see it gives this beautiful texture. And especially if you have got a silk thread and a cotton thread, if you combine the 2, you really see the matte and the shine just interplaying off each other. And then all I did after that was I just went round with the single strand of the silk, just doing tiny little running stitches following the outline of the leaf, and I've done 5 rounds. But I just wanted to make sure that I went far enough that I came into adjacent areas, because now, for example, if I want to go and stitch into this linen, well, this linen, I've got that other piece of cloth behind, if you remember, so that I can make eyelets in it, so I have to remember to do that. That's why I did the, if you watch me make this scroll, I put this dark line of basting around here because I've put another piece of cloth underneath. I think it was grey linen, so that I can cut little holes in this. So maybe I'll go ahead and do that, because I have done eyelet stitch with you quite often, and show it to you next time. And then once I've done the eyelets, I can do stitching around them that will interplay with the stitching that's already here. So you can see, I hope, how I'm building up from beginning this one thing. I can work around it, and then at one point I probably, or almost certainly, will go somewhere else on the scroll, and you know, I don't know where yet, but somewhere, and start stitching somewhere else, and then work on that area up to a certain point, and then I'll go and start somewhere else again, and then I might come back here. So yeah, I jump around all over the place, and then a few months down the line, or however long it takes me, when most of it is stitched and there are areas in between, then I'll go back and fill in and link things, but I'll share the whole journey with you. I'm getting ahead of myself. So that was it for this video. So that was the long and short stitch used as an outline stitch, in different thicknesses and different types of thread. So I hope you like that. I hope you will use that in your own work, even if you're not going to make a scroll with it. It's not a stitching style I've shared with you before, so that's nice, I hope. And thank you so much for watching. Lots of love and kisses, and I look forward to you joining me next time for more cloth tales. Bye bye.